But I wanted to pose that question to you. What do you think the worst thing about being disabled is?
Okay, so I think it would depend on if we were talking about like a physical aspect, like what's the worst thing about being, disabled in terms of like either physical, like the loss of physical things, or like the emotional thing. I have to say that when I was first paralyzed, I would 100% have said loss of bowel and bladder function is the worst part about being paralyzed. And I do actually share with so many people that ask me that same question, what's the worst part? I do share that that's probably the hardest part to get used to. But I think the worst part about being paralyzed is watching people do things that you want to do, and not be pissed about it. This came up the other day when I was with my friend who's a really high level quadriplegic. We went to a high school reunion of hers, and she was on the cheerleading squad. And she asked me to go with her. It was going to be a little bit weird because she was going to see all these people that she was on a cheerleading team with, and now she's a really high level quadriplegic from a car accident. And at one point, a whole bunch of the people did cheers that they used to do, and just watching people dance, because I love to dance and I love music, I love the way it makes me feel. It was like one of those things that you know that you're never ever going to be able to do that again the way that they're doing it. And you like have this little like thing that, for the rest of my whole life until I die, I'm never ever going to get that again, right? And it's hard to watch. And even though I was like it brought me joy and pain at the same time. Like it's such a weird thing. And I looked over at my friend and she was like tearing up too because, she only has one good shoulder essentially now, and she has to have full-time care, and she has a baby that she can barely like take care of because she is so she's paralyzed so high. And it was just really hard to like see all of the things that she was missing and that I would miss, and I'm missing, not nearly what she's missing, and yet still trying to be positive, happy people that don't make everybody else miserable. So I think that's a really hard thing sometimes to grapple with, and I don't think that anybody really talks about that or teaches you how to cope with those mixes of emotions that are like, swirling around inside your body all the time.
Yeah. No, I get that. That's really hard. I remember you've actually brought back a memory of mine when I was very first injured. I remember you could see people doing loads of things, and you could be jealous of them snowboarding or riding a bike. I just remember my friend, he just stood up from the couch and he just sort of just stretched his legs and just like got up to leave. And I was like, to stretch my legs like the way you just did. Mm. It was such a subtle movement, but I was like, that would aid my body so much right now. Like it would just relieve some sort of aches and pains, or like, because that was what I was going to say was like the worst thing about if you ask me, this is what I said to the girl. I said, because I was on the spot and I was like, okay, well, for me, honestly, I think the worst thing is the constant discomfort that I'm in. Like, it doesn't look like it because I'm sat down, and you can't really, for you don't look, it doesn't look like my legs are moving, but they're very, very tight. Like the spasticity is constant. Like my legs are like throbbing, or they feel like they're throbbing, whether it's like a little bit of nerve pain. And I don't really suffer from nerve pain that badly. I know some people do. But yeah, it's just the fact that when I go to move my body, my legs are very, very reactive. My legs are very tense all the time. My lower body is tense. It's like, feels like it's gripping the wheelchair. But you can't see that when you look at me. You just think I'm sat down. But yeah, my body is usually insanely tense. And there's always like, I'm never fully comfortable. Like sometimes I'm comfortable if I'm sleeping or if I'm in bed. But generally, there's a solid background level of just discomfort, whether it's in my bum or my thighs. And I just sometimes, I just wish that I could just be relaxed, like my legs would be relaxed, and that sort of tightness from almost like sort of like my belly button down is just like "Ugh," and that is the most frustrating thing. It would easily be the spasms and the constant discomfort. And that was my answer. Yeah.
I just actually had this conversation with Joe the other day because I am always uncomfortable when I'm in bed because I have really bony shoulders. My hips don't have a lot of fat on them anymore, so I can't comfortably lay in one spot for any length of time without my spasms starting to freak out. And I just said, I just want like one day of my life where I could feel like I was when I was 13 laying in bed and I just felt so comfortable. Like I just remember feeling so comfortable in bed and then like waking up for a second to stretch and roll over and go back to sleep. And like not one thing hurt. It wasn't a chore to roll over. I didn't wake up to be like, oh, my shoulder hurts and yeah, I guess I haven't had that in years. So I don't even know what that would be like.
So when you say that you're uncomfortable in bed and that you're quite bony, I think the one benefit I have of the spasms is that my legs haven't atrophied that much. Like my bum has atrophied, my glute muscles have atrophied, so I've got a bit of a bony bum. But generally, the meat on my legs is not bad. So it is a bit of a gift and a curse. So yeah, it's yeah.
Yeah, there are those things that you have to kind of look at that go, would I rather not have any spasms so then, my legs atrophy a lot? But yeah, everything has its cost benefit, ratio. But yeah, to go back to the times that, that comfort level and no pain was something that you totally took for granted. Like, wouldn't that be nice to go back to that where you could just take that for granted again?
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. Just the fact that a lot of people can just sit down. Like you could sit in a wheelchair and be very, very comfortable. But like I'm sat in the wheelchair and I'm never really that comfortable. Like I might look that I'm comfortable, but I think you just get used to a certain level of discomfort. And yeah, and that's something that I think a lot of able-bodied people don't know about people in wheelchairs. Or my experience, and certainly like your experience as well, is that we're not really that comfortable when we're sat down. It's like like the body isn't supposed to be sat down. Like it's meant to be upright. It's meant to be walking. So yeah, and that sort of like has that like sort of feedback loop of like, oh, like your body wants to like stand up. So I think that's why I had such envy when my friend just got up from the couch and just stood up and just I could just see him stretching his legs, and I was just like, oh God. I would love to do that. My body would thank me so much. But yeah, that's something I struggle with. But how do you feel about getting old? Aging in a wheelchair.
I think the aging thing scares me because of the pain level. Because the longer you sit in a wheelchair, where your body is not naturally supposed to be, and there's just things that break down faster. And so it's not that I fear aging, it's just that I fear what aging looks like in terms of my independence. And I know it seems really, I guess, hypocritical to think, I can't handle any loss of independence because obviously I've lost some independence being paralyzed, but I still have those like fears around being more disabled, which is like awful, I guess. And I worry about what it could mean for my relationship if I'm not as independent as I am now, what it means in terms of, my kids and how much they might have to help or take care of me, or if they even would, just all of those kinds of things. So I'm like, do I make a bunch of money so that I have a bunch of money to get the care that I need when I'm older? Do I maintain my physical fitness and my nutrition and stuff so that I stay as healthy as possible for as long as possible? So it's like the choices you make now affect the things that happen in the future. How much physical, things do I do now that might potentially damage my shoulders? All of those things, like just a lot of trying to control the future, which I know is an illusion, but yeah. What do you think? Are you afraid?
Well, it's something I hadn't actually thought about that much, but now you've brought it up, yeah, it does scare me a little bit. I think certain things, like when I'm in the gym, obviously I like to keep fit and like keep strong, because you know I have to like use my arms, so I'm sort of compensating for my lack of lower body. But even in the gym, sometimes I'm like, oh, my shoulders hurt a little bit, you know, and I'm like, that, you know, I've only been paralyzed for like 4.5 years, and I'm like, you know, another 4.5 years, how are my shoulders going to feel? Because I'll only be 45, and I worry, like, yeah, like about lack of independence. Like I actually wondered recently, like, say if I just broke a finger on my right hand, would I have to do my bowel program with my left hand? How would you get used to that? Like, you would, but like it would be so weird, and like I just couldn't imagine it, you know, like but oh yeah, and just obviously just getting injured, like if you just injure your arm, how hard life would be, because we rely on our arms. So yeah, it's something I haven't really thought about that much. But yeah, now you've brought it up, it's a scary thought. But I know a lot of people do live long, healthy lives, and I think we just got to try and take care of ourselves the best we can. I think I've become a lot less a lot more risk averse since my accident. Like I see people in wheelchairs like flying down like downhill mountain bike tracks or sit skiing and stuff like that. I'm like, you're crazy, man. Like, if you know, like I think also I'm getting old. I think also since my disability, I got a lot older mentally. Like, I've definitely like, ooh, no, I don't want to do that. I could hurt myself, and if I hurt myself, the consequences are so much more. I do envy like the youngsters that get hurt and they just throwing themselves down the mountain, and I'm just like, Jesus, man, like, you're crazy. You're already broken your back. I met a guy who was doing the sit skiing at first, and he broke his back 3 times after becoming paralyzed, and I was like, you're crazy, man. Like, you broke your back and became a paraplegic, and you broke your back 3 times sit skiing. You're crazy. You're like rolling the dice. Like, what the hell? So for me, it's yeah. I just want to stay healthy, and I guess I've got a little bit more of a tighter comfort bubble than before, and I think that's also a gift and a curse. It's being slightly more risk averse, but then also being a little bit more scared. I think scared to try new things. But also content with doing less. So yeah. I don't know. Can you relate?
Yeah, I totally relate. I think people that, you know, gamble or roll the dice, so to speak, with their activities after their injury are crazy. And, you know, the likelihood of somebody being paralyzed twice, probably not that high, but I've known people that have been. So, yeah, I just would rather be able to, you know, do hand cycling with my kids, or, you know, wheel the boardwalk on like on a beach for the, you know, remainder of my years, than do something crazy like go downhill sit skiing, which is why I choose things that I feel are like safer. Cross country skiing, you know, little hills, flat ground, but still gives you like the same feeling of freedom in the snow. So I think you can achieve most of the feelings that you want to achieve in fairly safe activities. But yeah, I don't know how those people justify going and doing all that stuff. But there's got to be crazy people out there in the world that's, you know, we all can't be afraid to do things. Otherwise, I'm sure the human race would have perished, you know, long before now. So
hello friends, if you enjoyed that little clip, I'm going to be releasing the next part of the conversation very soon. So if you haven't subscribed already, just click here. Till next time, peace. Break. I'm just going to quickly go for a wee. I've got my little bum wiggle on.
Oh, so I was just going to say the same thing. Okay, I'm going to go too then.